Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So in today's video, I'm going to give you every single thing you need to know about the Ancestor mods all in one video. Now, I've had lots of experience with Ancestor mods. I've played Warframe for 10 plus years and the Rivens, and it's the same thing basically. And I'll give you the full 0 to 100 on literally every single thing you need to know about the Ancestor mods. So first of all, let's get started on how to get them. When you go to the Axiom Plains, we've got the Supermassive Receptor Dungeon, and this gives you 10 of them per week. It also gives you a ton of Ironheart particles, so it's the fastest way to max out your inversions. And this is capped after you get your 10 weekly Ancestor mods from this one mission. You're basically balling, and you can focus on other stuff unless you want to get your Harris or your Hive Masters and stuff like that. This is going to be the first and the best way to get 10 every week. Whilst we are in Axion, let's focus on the other Axion methods. Now, you can see the Dimension Energy Stabilization. This is going to give you another Ancestor mod. What that basically means is run one of the Wall Crashers per day and run one of the Teeth mission. If you haven't filled this bar up, then just run another Wall Crasher, run another Teeth mission once an hour until it basically gets full, and then you'll basically get this at the end. Next up, we've got Wall Crasher. Wall Crasher in the middle of the Axion will give you an Ancestor mod. There is a 25% drop chance per every single time you fight him, so that's basically what you can get on the Axion Plains as well. This is an infinite amount of Ancestor mods. Ariana, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Yeah, so infinite amount. Just keep doing your Wall Crashers every hour if you can. Other than that, the other way to get them is Sigma Sector. So daily Sigma Sectors will give you a guaranteed Ancestor mod every single time you complete one of the zones per day. So you can get 14 in 1 week from here as well. Better than the Supermassive Receptor, but a little bit slower in the long run. Next up, we've got ETA 0. ETA 0, my beloved. Every single season in ETA 0, there will be drops over here. As you can see, 5 Ancestor mods totaling for 1,500 green tickets. That is basically the most effective and basically every single method to get yourself these Ancestor mods. So now let me talk about what the Ancestor mods actually are. So the Ancestor mods are mods where you can re-roll stats. You cannot lock any stats, you cannot upgrade the mods or anything like that. They come at max value every single time. In terms of this over here, this is the page you'll see. Mohad Nazri, thank you so much for the sub, I appreciate that. Let me use Bunny for an example. With this over here, this is what you'd basically see when you get into the menu. Yeah, that's kind of basically what you would see as you go into the menu with these Ancestor mods. Now, with these over here, I think that it can be a very, very, very overwhelming experience, especially for someone who, you know, hasn't ever seen this before, and it can definitely confuse you a lot. So let me break it down very, very, very simple for you. There is 4 different types of rolls you can do. You can do 2 positives, 3 positives, 2 positives and 1 negative, and 3 positives and 1 negative. When you look at the stats over here, the values and the minimum and maximum values change depending on what's going on. The simplest way for me to describe this for you guys would basically be the following. The 3 positive roll over here is a safe roll if you want to just get 3 good stats. However, when you add a negative in, this boosts the values significantly further. So you can, for example, look at the skill cooldown. Over here, the maximum value is 0.134, but if we add a negative, it goes up to 0.221. This is a very, very, very big difference. Now, the best thing that you can do is go with 3 positives and 1 negative. This will again make the values a little bit lower in terms of their max, but it gives you the maximum amount of quality of life and gives you a negative, so you can basically make the best and most min-max builds with 3 positives and 1 negative, especially if that negative basically ends up being harmless for your specific descendant. Now, which one of these should you use? I know it's a very, 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 very big back and forth. Overall, for majority of the Descendants, getting away with 2 stats is completely fine with 1 negative. If you want to min-max, you use 3 stats and 1 negative. If you don't really care and you just want 3 negatives, or sorry, 3 positives, or just want 3 cool stats, you don't really care about how much they do, you go 3 positives, and then the worst is just 2 positives, kind of a given. Next up, let's talk about the current options. You cannot fix these stats. Every single time you roll them, it is completely random. If I go to a Ancestor mod over here, like this Sharon one, I can't even afford the lowest level roll because I'm a brokey. But every single time you roll them, it is completely and utterly going to change every single time. And this is basically what you are stuck with. I am not 100% sure about the chances of actually getting the rolls. I believe it is fairly low the higher color you get. You go from blue to purple up to gold, and then from gold you max out with a red stat. I'm just trying to find one of my red ones. There you go, a red stat. This is the absolute strongest stat you can get. The red stats are the king of basically what we get right now, so you basically want to do this in the game. That is your order that you are going to want to go with. Now, in terms of what you want is ideally 3 reds and a harmless negative, but we'll come to that shortly. Next up, let's talk about this resource, the superconductive cooling unit. This basically determines how much you can roll, especially this resource, because Golden Kuiper is a little bit easier to farm. Now, with this, I will tell you how to quickly farm Golden Kuiper, but I'll do that after I've talked about the superconductive cooling unit. Now, with the superconductive cooling unit, this is the biggest thing that you are basically going to want to put your time into. With this superconductive resource, this is essentially the ways that you farm it. Axion can give you 11 every single time you do a teeth mission. With Axion, the missions I recommend doing is the Technical Research Institute, which can be done in under 2 minutes if you use a bunny or a Serena and stuff like that, or just fast descendants that plow through it like Glare as well, or Lepic. Same can be said for the Crater, about 2-minute runs for this one. The fastest mission is the Axe Power Converter Station after they nerfed a wave. You can literally fly through this with Serena. Doing this in a squad will definitely help you out a lot. Essentially, you just wait until the conversion or the rotation hits a mission you like. Either one of these 3 is the 3 that I would recommend, is going to be that, and you basically just farm it. If you're in a position where Axion is kind of like this, you can see how long the operational area is, and then after the Warcrasher rotation, it will basically change. Axe Refinery is a decent one, but you essentially just want to be speedrunning this to get the maximum amount of the superconductive, and every time you complete it, you get 11 in Axion. Now, the time taken, like I said, depends basically on the rotation. Next up, the Supermassive Receptor Dungeon. Now, this is based on the amount of commanders that you get in the mission in here, and it can be between 5% all the way up to 500, giving that you get the jackpot mechanic, which is the, you know, low chance of getting 500 at once. So, yeah, or any value in between. It's a gamble. If you want to be consistent, I say Axion is the absolute fastest, and then Supermassive Receptor is the second best because of this jackpot mechanic. Next up, we'll talk about Medium Void Vessel. This can be done in about 3 minutes, depending on your setup and your team, and you can get 10 of them over here. And if you need the keys or your old swords, this would be good. Catalyst resources, supply coin as well. There's plenty that you can get from Vessel 2, and it's a very good farm. A very fun mission as well, in my opinion, especially if you speedrun it, because like I said, quick 3-minute runs is not too bad. Now, we've got the old Vessel, Vessel 1, which gives 13, however the runs are about 4 to 5 minutes depending on your Descendant and your RNG and your luck and everything and the tile set, so this one's a little bit slower. Then I think the worst farm in the game is going to be Sigma Sector for this, or second to worst is going to be Sigma Sector in Isolated Desert. You get 6 of these per run, and these are about 2-minute runs on average. Depending on tile set, you can get 1 minute though, so this is not too bad either. Then the 400%. Now 400% can range massively between whichever dungeon you're running, but in something like this, you can clear the Forgottens with Bunny in 1 minute 30 seconds. You can clear Magister Labs in sub 1 minute in 55 seconds in a group, so on and so forth. So depending on time taken, again, is the same principle. However, you only get 4 out of a 400%, so even if it takes you 2 minutes to get 8 of them, it's still not really as impressive because you can get 10 of them in an extra minute with Vessel. It's back and forth, but I think Magister Labs can definitely help because it is kind of cooked. But that's basically the main thing over here when it comes to the superconductive material, especially with this thing. Now, when it comes to this roles, I know a lot of people are confused. What do I get? What's good with this character? What's bad with this character? So I'm going to give you all of the most important information in this document that I've made over here. Now, this is a very big document, and pay attention because I'm going to make it very easy for you. Every single character has a synchronization value, which I have added over here next to the character. I'll use Bunny as a quick example, but let's just talk about everything that is possible with this. With the crit rate and crit damage that you can get on all the Descendants, with a full crit build, every single Descendant has a viable crit build. Even 5% characters like Freyna and Jaber can end up with 40% crit rate almost, which is viable. If you think 40% is not viable, Bunny is currently 40% without an Ancestor mod, and she's one of the strongest Descendants in the game, so make of it what you will, but 40% is absolutely viable in my opinion. Now let's have a look at this over here. Let's just look at Bunny. So depending on the way that you would read this, I've set it up to be incredibly easy for everyone to understand. The way that you would read this is the following. Which Descendant do you want? Find the name over here, let's say Bunny. What is the synchronization value, which means how effective the Ancestor mod is? 0.8, which is a good value for Bunny. Okay, which build am I looking for? I'm looking for the critical condensed mobbing build, or crit mobbing. So let's have a look at that one, which is this top row over here. The ideal positive skill power modifiers is electric modifiers and fusion modifiers. This includes the electric boost power ratio and electric modifier, which are both under the electric title, in my opinion, so I've structured it like that. So I'd be looking for them two on Bunny if I do get it as an extra value, or if it ends up being a stat on my Ancestor mod. The ideal negative modifiers, because you can get them as a negative, I believe. If not, then just ignore this section. Would be non-attribute, chill, toxic, fire, tech, or dimension, because all of them are basically irrelevant on Bunny and can definitely make a difference. I do believe they are still on there because of the wave eruption setup, but that's just something we can ignore for now. So what would be the essential roles? Like I said, there's 2 roles as an option, so I've gone ahead and chosen the 2 most important roles on every single setup for Ancestor mods, and then I've given you your third or an optional role as a third role within a separate column. For this build, I'd 100% want the crit rate and crit damage on Bunny. That's cool. Okay, so I can replace one of the crit mods, for example emergency measures, with this, or front lines with this, and you'd get the crit rate back and the crit damage back. Perfect. So then we get more of the crit out of here and we get the better stuff. If I was to roll this on a 3 positives and 1 negative, I have the chance of getting a third stat. What would I want for the third stat? I would want either cooldown or cost. That would be cool, or range would also be nice. I'll just add that in, but you see what I mean? It's making it really easy for people to understand what you kind of want to get out of here. Same for this build setup actually. I'll add range over here as well. Okay, so now because I've spoken about what stats you would want on the positives, what would you want on the negatives? So for this specific build, because it was the top one, having a negative defense or a negative max shield would also work out nicely. Why negative defense is a good thing? Because we've got the cores to compensate. We can also argue that negative HP would also be a good negative, because we again have the cores and the tree to compensate. With the amount of buffs that we can get from the Ancestor mods, we can easily rework the trees, and if we use, for example, the double strip tree that goes in the top right and the bottom left for Bunny, we'll be running past HP anyways, so there you go. Negative HP could also be a positive stat for Bunny. The negative, you kind of just want to have a look at your character and how you play and understand the way that, you know, this works well with this works well with that. I wouldn't mind if this does a negative with that, so on and so forth. Essentially, the third option is always a quality of life majority of the time, or in my opinion I would say get a third mod that replaces the mod on your setup already. For example, on a bunny mobbing build, let's say the third one over here, the non-crit condense, ideally I'd want to get a fusion and electric for damage, but if I was to get range on here, I would just use this as the opportunity to replace amplification control, and then I would just essentially swap it out with that. So I've got my space on the build, and then boom, double damage. Simple. And as an example over here, it's a non-crit build, so having crit rate or crit damage would be completely acceptable as a negative, so that's another thing as well. I am going to be filling this in, but I've decided to leave the negatives kind of brief because you should be able to assess whether your negative hurts your build or not. If you copy exactly what I do with builds, then just follow the sheet, makes it easier. And for this sheet, that's basically it. I've added a note section and stuff like that. So for example, with this one, dungeon / sigma mainly, but can be used in Axion and Vessel. It's just my experience with this. Not 100% crit rate, but still cracked for the crit build, so on and so forth. But essentially, I've done this except for every single descendant in the game. And you can see the big chart table. Some of the information is wrong and it's still going to be getting updated, so don't worry, the more I test it, the more I will be adding to it. Also, if you think I've missed any of the builds on specific characters, please let me know and I will add them in. If you could give me the information as well, like, you know, ideal modifiers, negatives, essential roles, optional roles, and negative, I would really appreciate that. And like I said, this is a community effort and I'm trying to make a positive difference, so please accept and try to understand that this is coming from a place of goodness, and I want as many people to use and refer to this document as possible. The link for this will be in the pinned comment and also in the description, so make sure to share this document with as many people as you can. And yeah, now we understand everything on how to use the Ancestor mods, what to do, how to find the resource, and how to basically do absolutely everything inside of all of this. So that, guys, has basically been today's video. And I hope you guys have enjoyed. I really hope this has helped you understand how to use Ancestor mods and basically been a good in-depth guide on how to use it. So I truly hope this makes a difference. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, please do smash that like button. And if you're new here, please do consider subscribing. I make plenty of videos on the first Descendant. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.